Hello and welcome. Today, we're exploring a subject that touches every home, every meal, and ultimately, every heartbeat. The profound impact of trans fats on your health, especially your heart. The food choices we make every day may seem simple, but lurking beneath the surface of labels and packaging are ingredients with the potential to shape, sometimes for the worse, the course of our well-being. Understanding what trans fats are, how they're made, where they hide in our diets, and how to stay healthy and safe can be transformational for you and your loved ones. Heart disease remains the #1 killer worldwide, and while genetics and lifestyle certainly play a part, the role of diet, particularly unhealthy fats, is undeniable. Within that broad category of fats, trans fats stand out as possibly the most dangerous. So today, let's break the silence on these hidden enemies. Let's examine not just what they are, but how they silently undermine our health and what steps you can take to safeguard your future. Did you know that just 2% of your daily caloric intake derived from trans fats, a mere fraction of what the average diet contains, can increase your risk of heart disease by more than 20%? It's a startling statistic, and the reality is that many of us are consuming trans fats without even realizing it. Not just in obvious sources like fast food, but in items we might consider harmless, even healthy. So let's start at the beginning. What are trans fats? Trans fats, or trans fatty acids, are a type of unsaturated fat. But unlike the heart-healthy unsaturated fats found naturally in foods like olive oil or avocados, trans fats are mostly artificial, created by a chemical process called hydrogenation. In this process, hydrogen is added to liquid vegetable oils to make them more solid, giving rise to what's known as partially hydrogenated oils. Why would manufacturers go through such lengths to modify oils? The answer is simple. It extends the shelf life of foods and creates a texture that's deemed desirable for many baked goods, shortenings, and margarines. Foods can stay crispier on the outside and softer on the inside. That's why you'll find trans fats in everything from flaky pastries and cookies to microwave popcorn, frozen pizzas, and fried chicken. The industrial manufacturing of trans fats dates back more than a century. Initially seen as a major technological breakthrough, partially hydrogenated oils became the go-to for food manufacturers looking for stable, cheap alternatives to butter or lard. 2 generations later, however, we began to understand the public health costs. While some trans fats occur naturally in small amounts in meat and dairy products from ruminant animals like cattle and sheep, most of the trans fats in the modern diet come from these human-made sources. Industrial trans fats are especially dangerous, but even naturally occurring trans fats in excess may carry risks. Now, you might be wondering, if they're so bad, why do we still use them? The answer involves tradition, taste, and economics. Trans fats are extraordinarily inexpensive for food manufacturers, and they lend appealing textures and longer shelf lives to processed foods. That is why, despite decades of mounting evidence, you still find them in many of the items scattered throughout your local supermarket or at your favorite restaurant. Let's delve deeper into what trans fats do inside your body. The key issue is their disruptive effect on the delicate balance of cholesterol in your bloodstream. Our bodies need cholesterol for vital functions, including building cell walls and producing hormones, but having the right kinds in the right amounts is crucial. Trans fats are particularly insidious because they both increase low-density lipoprotein, LDL, cholesterol, the bad kind, and reduce high-density lipoprotein, HDL, cholesterol, the good kind. LDL cholesterol can build up on arterial walls, narrowing or even blocking arteries and leading to atherosclerosis, which is a precursor to heart attacks and strokes. HDL cholesterol, on the other hand, acts as a sort of scavenger, carrying extra cholesterol away from your arteries and back to the liver for processing. In effect, when you consume trans fats, you're not just adding fuel to the fire, you're also putting out the body's natural protective mechanism. Elevated LDL coupled with reduced HDL creates a double jeopardy scenario, dramatically compounding cardiovascular risk. But trans fats don't stop at cholesterol manipulation. They also foster systemic inflammation, a hidden danger, since chronic inflammation can silently damage arteries over years or decades. This inflammation is twice as tricky since it's rarely seen or felt until a catastrophic event, like a heart attack or stroke, occurs. Our arteries are meant to be flexible and responsive, able to open and close as needed, regulating blood pressure and providing nutrients vital to organs. Trans fats stiffen these arteries, reducing their ability to flex and respond to changes in blood flow. This inflexibility is yet another contributor to long-term cardiovascular damage. There are other health effects too. Trans fats are strongly associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. They have been linked to higher rates of insulin resistance, which can disrupt your blood sugar control and lead to a cascade of health problems, from fatigue and frequent infections to vision loss and kidney damage in advanced cases. Trans fats also seem to hijack our ability to manage weight. Not only are they calorie-dense, but eating foods high in trans fats has been associated with greater fat storage, especially around the abdomen, a risk factor not just for heart disease, but also for metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions that includes increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol levels. Emerging research links trans fats to problems beyond the heart, the arteries, and metabolism. Some evidence suggests they might increase risks for certain cancers, impair memory and cognitive function, and even affect liver health. While these studies are still underway, the trend is clear. The more we learn about trans fats, the more reasons we find to avoid them. So where specifically are trans fats hiding? In processed and packaged foods, baked goods including pies, cakes, biscuits, cookies, donuts, and croissants, snack foods like chips and crackers, frozen pizzas, ready-to-use dough, non-dairy coffee creamers, margarine and other spreads, and of course, fast foods, from crispy fries to battered fish or fried chicken. Even products labeled 0 grams of trans fats may still harbor up to half a gram per serving, because in many regions, if the content per serving is below this threshold, companies can legally round down to 0. That's why label reading isn't enough. Checking the ingredients list for partially hydrogenated oils is the only sure way to avoid hidden trans fats. Dining out presents similar pitfalls. Restaurants, especially fast food outlets and bakeries, often rely on oils that have been partially hydrogenated, even if they're not obviously advertising the fact. That flaky crusted pie, that golden fried pastry, that perfectly crisped chicken. Many owe their appeal to trans fats. But the good news is that, with growing awareness, several governments and health organizations have pushed for bans and restrictions. In the United States, the FDA has declared that partially hydrogenated oils, the primary source of artificial trans fats, are no longer generally recognized as safe for use in foods. Similar moves have been made across Europe, Canada, and other parts of the world. However, even with strong regulation, enforcement can be uneven, and products imported from countries with less stringent rules may still contain trans fats. Moreover, trans fat-free does not always mean healthy. Some alternatives are saturated fats like palm oil, which may also raise LDL cholesterol, though typically not to the same degree as trans fats. All of this might seem overwhelming, but practical steps can make a world of difference. First, become a vigilant label reader. Look beyond the nutritional facts panel and inspect the ingredients list for terms like partially hydrogenated oil or shortening. If you see these phrases, put the item back on the shelf. Second, embrace whole foods. The less processed an item is, the less likely it is to carry trans fats. Fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, lean meats, and fish are free of these harmful fats and brimming with nutrients that can help protect your heart. Third, cook at home whenever possible. When you control the preparation, you control the ingredients. Use liquid oils like olive, canola, or avocado oil, which are high in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, both shown to reduce LDL cholesterol and boost HDL. Fourth, when you do eat out, don't be shy about asking what types of oil a restaurant uses, especially if you're ordering fried food or baked pastries. Many establishments will be forthright about the ingredients they use, and some will offer healthier alternatives if asked. Making these changes can feel daunting at first, especially if processed convenience foods are a staple in your diet, or if you're cooking every day for a family in a hurry. But the power to reshape your health lies in every meal, every recipe, and every shopping list. Let's talk briefly about the profound positive changes that can come from reducing or eliminating trans fats. The benefits go beyond just lowering your risk for heart attack and stroke. As your cholesterol levels stabilize, your arteries remain clearer, your blood pressure steadies, your risk of diabetes falls, and your overall inflammation drops. Many people report more energy, better focus, and even improved skin after cutting trans fats. From a public health standpoint, countries that have regulated and limited trans fats have documented significant decreases in rates of heart disease and related deaths. Some cities and nations have seen double-digit reductions in mortality after enforcing bans or severe restrictions. Beyond your own health, reducing your support of products laden with trans fats applies market pressure. Whenever you choose to buy an item free of these fats, you support businesses that invest in healthier alternatives. Over time, this consumer power can shift entire food systems toward better, more accountable practices. Still, the path isn't always perfect. Slipping up is human, especially in social settings, celebrations, or busy periods of your life. The key is not to dwell on small missteps, but to return consistently to better choices. Building a diet centered on whole, minimally processed foods isn't about deprivation. It's about discovering vibrant tastes and new cooking methods. Experiment with herbs, spices, and different cuisines to make meals exciting and nourishing. Try roasted sweet potatoes drizzled with olive oil instead of fries. Swap pastries for fruit with a handful of nuts. Try homemade soups and stews in place of ready-made canned goods. Many health organizations recommend replacing trans and saturated fats with unsaturated fats whenever possible. For instance, use soft tub margarines that do not contain partially hydrogenated oils, and always check labels. And remember, moderation remains key in all aspects of diet and lifestyle. So let's reflect on the journey we make through our kitchens every day. Every food label we check, every ingredient we substitute, and every recipe we modify is a step on the path to heart health, wellness, and longevity. You have the tools and the knowledge. The rest is about action and consistency. Take a look through your pantry and fridge today. What foods contain partially hydrogenated oil or shortening or any word you now know signals trans fats? Can you find a replacement? Could you dedicate a weekend day to food prep, making healthy muffins or snacks ahead of time so you're less likely to grab processed options? Talk with your family, your friends. The more open the conversation about these hidden dangers, the more likely you are to build a support network of people making similar changes. Swap recipes, share tips, celebrate victories, no matter how small. And be kind to yourself. Change takes time. If you slip up, just get back to making better choices at your next opportunity. Every step you take away from trans fats is a step toward a healthier heart, more energy, and a longer, more vibrant life. So, in summary, trans fats are man-made fats created to extend shelf life and add appealing textures to processed foods. They increase your risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and possibly even more. The most practical way to avoid them is to carefully read food labels, choose whole foods, cook at home, and be proactive when dining out. By focusing on your health, you're not just protecting your own heart, but supporting a societal shift towards foods and environments that prioritize well-being. Thank you for taking the time to learn, grow, and empower yourself with this vital knowledge. Your choices at the supermarket, in the kitchen, at the restaurant table matter deeply. Wishing you and your loved ones a future of robust heart health and joyful living. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Keep making every day an opportunity for better health.